What's going on, guys? My name's Brock. I'm a commercial photographer from the Greater Toronto area, and it's mid-August, so in my world that means it is two things: Christmas and Halloween. So today I've got a tutorial for you that was a recent ask from one of my clients. I'm going to be showing you how to turn someone into a zombie. Any assets that are extra for this video will be in the description below, so check that out. And without further ado, let's get to it. Now we're in Photoshop, and I have the file open that I'm going to apply the zombie look to. My goal is to apply it to the arms that come in from behind this main model here. And I've already done most of my skin treatment and healing. Still not done, and this stuff is for the jewelry. But I've been so excited that I just want to jump into this zombie look right away. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a group, and this is going to have all our elements for our zombie look. So I'm going to hit Command G, and that's going to create a group. Sir, you're not supposed to. You can leave. All right, and let's title our group Zombie, because that's what it's going to be. And to make it easy to follow along for you guys, I'm going to just tag it green. You don't have to do this. Just makes it easier to see. So the first thing that we need to do for our zombie, you can make a selection of your arms or whatever skin you want to apply it. I've already done so, made a mask, so I'm just going to load that selection, arms, okay, and create a mask there, making sure that the white is only on the arm. So now we can jump in and do our first treatment. The first thing I'm going to do is do a hue saturation, and I'm going to desaturate about, maybe not all the way, we'll start there for now. Okay, and so now we can bring in our first asset and drag that in. Now you can tell right away that the scale is absolutely wrong for what we're going for. This looks so wrong. So I'm just going to shrink it down until the point that it looks about right and apply it everywhere we need the mask. Okay, so first one's down, hit enter, and now I'm going to start duplicating the mask to bring it around the rest of our subject. Now the thing to know about this asset in particular, this will probably apply to most things like this, is that they are meant to repeat in a tile, meaning that if we line up the tile, it should be seamless mixing. Okay, so now just to make my life easier, I'm going to select both those layers, hit Command J, create another one, and just move that tile over. You want to make it easier just to drag it, hold Shift when you move it, and it'll only move it on that axis. I'm just going to duplicate the very top one because I only need to get rid of the rest of the hands. Again, hitting Shift allows me to just drag it upwards so it'll line up perfectly. So we'll just find the edge and then maybe move a little bit past it. I think that's the edge there. And we'll just bring it back down. Perfect. And now we have seamless texture on one hand, on one arm, sorry. Just gonna merge all those layers together, and we're gonna duplicate that again. Right click or double click on your trackpad and flip the horizontal. This just makes it a lot easier to move it onto the other hand. All right, so that looks good. So next, merge these, and this is our skin, our stapled skin. So you can tell right away if we turn off our mask, that's what we're dealing with. It looks a little crazy, but of course, the mask keeps it in place. So next, go to your blending modes and find one that works. I suggest hard light. Any one of these will probably work. Vivid light's kind of nice too. But I think what I'm gonna do is stick with hard light. Okay, and then the next thing that I like to do is go into the layer styles and start playing with your blend if section. I'm not going to touch the blacks because the blacks make up all the detail of the stitches. So if we got rid of those, we would get rid of the stitches. But by going into the whites, we can blend the skin of the model skin with the skin of the zombie a little bit cleaner and make it look not like an asset that's sitting on top of the skin, but really make it look like it's part of the skin. So maybe not that much, maybe about there. And we'll say about there. Preview. And it didn't do much, so let's pull it a little bit further into there. Okay. So now we have our first asset on the skin, but it still looks a little bright for a zombie. Of course, since we're coming from a model, they have perfect skin. So let's just go into our levels and play with that a little bit. Might leave that where it is. I'm gonna crush my whites because models don't. Zombies. Getting models and zombies totally mixed up. What's going on? Zombies do not have reflective, nice, highlight, dewy, glowing skin. Their skin is flaky, it's dying, it's grotesque, so it doesn't reflect too many highlights. So we're gonna crush our whites, and then I'm gonna bring in our shadows, our blacks a little bit here, about there. And this is still very rough because with every asset that we add onto it, it will kind of cut back exposure a little bit every time. And you'll see that in a second because I'm gonna add our next asset, which is the Blistered Skin asset. So again, rescale to what you feel is right. I think for in this case, I can get away with just doing one arm per asset. Yeah, it looks right. And same thing as before, let's duplicate it. In this case, I may not flip this axis. Let's see, I'll flip it. Yeah. I'm just trying to be mindful that the same spots don't align where they are on this arm. So I can tell there's a spot on the elbow, a spot there that's pretty prominent. And I think we can see the same spots occurring in the same places. So let's choose somewhere that doesn't happen. With merging both these together, we have our second one on, and blend. I might do soft light for this one because it's not as much pronounced effect. I don't need to really see it. I want it to be more subtle. I want all these effects each to be very subtle and together be very effective. It's the best way to do it. So you can see it's adding texture in certain spots, which is exactly what I want it to do. And it's adding some saturation, which I knew would happen. So you can go image, adjustments, and I'm gonna reduce some of the saturation just on this image in particular because I don't want to affect everything else. And that looks pretty scary, but I think we can take it a little bit further. Right, so this is starting to look like a pretty convincing zombie. We still got some adjustments to go, and we have one more image asset to bring in. When you're building your layers for this, I highly suggest you think of, in terms of a physical skin, what's the first thing that you would have on the skin? Well, you would probably have the stitches in this case, and then you would have some of those blisters and other things that we've used. And then the next thing that you would have is any remnants of your zombie interacting with people or whatever's going on in their world. In this case, our zombie got into a couple fights. This blood PNG, it's great because it's already clipped. And I'm gonna scale it right down and apply it somewhere. So our zombie got hit on their knees, elbows, like that. And so since that doesn't look great, we're gonna of course go back into our blending modes And I'll probably do a hard light. Even though we can't really see it, it's very subtle, but subtleties are good, it's still there. And if you turn it off and on. So, gonna hit Command J, duplicate that, and we're gonna bring it somewhere else. Now, our zombie did get into a bit of a fist fight earlier, and because of that they have some of the blood stained onto their hands. And same thing, let's try soft light. And I like how the soft light looks. You can also reduce some of the opacity and show the original stuff through. Even though it's subtle, it's definitely still there. And let's do one more. After all, it is a zombie. How did they get infected? Well, ours in particular happened to get bitten on the wrist. And the reason that I'm constantly flipping the horizontal and the vertical is just because I want each to have a different quality. Also, in this case, I was looking for something that sticks out a little bit. See, I like this line on there, and it looks a little too obvious, so let's try a different blending mode. I like vivid light, and that might work well for the first one too. Yeah, definitely vivid light's the way to go for that one. All right, and so I'm not going to merge these ones because I still want to edit them potentially in the future. So last thing to do is I'm going to use the levels. I could use the curves, but I prefer levels just for this exact thing. Let's tone down our mids. We'll keep our highlights there. We don't really need to affect them. Just toning down the mids and maybe the shadows a little bit. And we can crunch the shadows a little bit if we want. And there you go. All that's left is to turn these back on. Still got a bit of editing to do, but I think that is a great starting point for you if you want to make a zombie look in Photoshop.